certain set of rules. That's what you said, Obama. What happens when the other side has repeatedly and abundantly made clear they are not interested in playing by the rules? And in those circumstances, pluralism does not call for us to just stand back and say, well, I'm not sure. That's okay. In those circumstances, a line has been crossed, and we have to stand firm.
You know, there are a few people many would like to hear more from in this moment than former President Barack Obama, stepping back into the spotlight after President-elect Donald Trump's election victory last month. He delivered this profound message on how to fight back against the inevitable Trump term 2.0.
A certain set of rules, that's what you said, Obama. What happens when the other side has repeatedly and abundantly made clear they are not interested in playing by the rules? It's a problem. And when that happens, we fight for what we believe in. There are going to be times, potentially, when one side tries to stack the deck and lock in a permanent grip on power, either by actively suppressing votes or politicizing the armed forces or using the judiciary, the criminal justice system to go after opponents. And in those circumstances, pluralism does not call for us to just stand back and say, well, I'm not sure. That's okay. In those circumstances, a line has been crossed, and we have to stand firm.
The former president gave a speech in Chicago about pluralism and unity, calling for Americans to engage with each other despite their differences. And this comes after he sat down in conversation with former German Chancellor Angela Merkel about her new book at the Anthem in Washington, D.C.
You were Chancellor of Germany when Donald Trump came to the White House for the first time. Do you have advice for newer world leaders, such as Sir Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom, the manner he should use when he talks to Donald Trump?
At least we have something in common, perhaps.
Donald Trump is someone who doesn't believe in win-win situations, but instead always believes there must be one winner. It's really important to know what your priorities are and not to be scared.
Vorträgt und nicht etwa Angst hat.
But if not scared, Europe's leaders are worried. Their economies sluggish, Russia and China bullish, the West weaker on the world stage.
Merkel, who recently vocalized her opinion on Trump's affliction for dictators during a CNN interview, details an extensive list of complaints about Trump in her new memoir, describing her experience working with him in a rather unflattering light.
I remember very distinctly when Donald Trump was first elected, you were the only one to actually welcome his election conditionally. In other words, based on the respect and the adherence to mutual values, democracy, freedom, diversity, rule of law, human rights, etc. And I just, wonder whether you thought he did act in that way. And especially because you said he was clearly fascinated by the Russian president. In the years that followed, I received the distinct impression that he was captivated by politicians with autocratic and dictatorial traits. How did that manifest itself to you?
Die Art und Weise, wie
Well, in the way that he spoke about Putin, the way that he spoke about the North Korean president. Obviously, apart from critical remarks he made, there was always a kind of fascination at the sheer power of what these people could do. So my impression always was that he dreamt of actually overriding maybe all those parliamentary bodies that he felt were, in a way, an encumbrance upon him, and that he wanted to decide matters on his own. And in a democracy, well, you cannot reconcile that with democratic values.
Which anyone with a set of eyes familiar with that humiliating moment when he refused to shake her hand, well, wouldn't be surprised by.
Send a good picture back to Germany, please. Make sure.
How did you talk to him, Mr. President?
Very good.
Talk about NATO?
Many things.
Sehr gut, danke. gute Gelegenheit, sich zu unterhalten.
Anything to say with British about intelligence?
Okay. Head up. Thank you, fellas.
Fellas over here.
But this has become a trend in the wake of Trump's election win, right? Many world leaders have felt obliged to speak out both to calm the concerns of their own constituents, but remind the soon-to-be Trump-led White House that they simply won't just fall in line. I mean, you know, someone is universally detested when it gets Scottish and English leaders to align on their mutual disdain.
So I want to be clear at the outset, against the backdrop of these dangerous times, the idea that we must choose between our allies, that somehow we're with either America or Europe, is plain wrong. I reject it utterly. Attlee did not choose between allies. Churchill did not choose. The national interest demands that we work with both.
I have to admit I find it disturbing that some people are describing this as democracy in action, or even suggesting that we shouldn't express a view on someone as profoundly dangerous, corrupt, dishonest and violent as Donald Trump returning to the White House. You know, this is not a Democrat. This is not someone who, I don't mean in party political terms, this is someone who sought to overturn illegally a democratic election simply because he lost. This is someone who has not only threatened but has incited his own supporters to use violence in his cause. And this is someone whose return to the White House will be celebrated by some of the most violent occupier regimes, including those who've occupied Ukraine and Palestine.
However, it's more than just those calling into question the character of the convicted felon, but bracing for the economic impact if he's set to impose his rather detail-free tariff plan. A plan allegedly to solve all of the economic issues in America, despite many economic experts warning to the contrary. You know, the economic issues that were so rife before the election when people allegedly couldn't afford eggs, but you know, miraculously after one Trump win, spent like crazy over a record-breaking Black Friday. Yeah, it's funny how that whole media messaging thing works. And one country leading by example is Mexico, right? As their president refuses to cow to Trump's false portrayal of their role in his upcoming administration.
A dispute between the president-elect of the U.S. and Mexico's president over a phone call. Who agreed to what and what it may mean for the U.S.-Mexico relationship. Donald Trump brought out some of his best words, for example, wonderful, to describe a conversation with Mexico's Claudia Sheinbaum, ending his Truth Social post by claiming she agreed to, quote, stop migration through Mexico and into the United States. Sheinbaum actually just responded moments ago, and the short version is never, no, not once, did she say anything of the kind. Sheinbaum on X was writing, we reiterate that Mexico's position is not to close borders, but to build bridges between governments and between peoples.
Trump is trying to rule with a stick and not a carrot. And we've seen this time and time again. He is out here trying to strong arm a leader, particularly a female leader. And he is known for saying things that quite frankly are not true. We'll never see the transcript of that call. We'll never, you know, you can say it's he said, she said, but we've seen time and time again where Trump will say something that happened in a call that is absolutely not true about that call.
But regardless, I'm sure he'll still tell his cult following that Mexico is going to pay for that wall that's never going to be built.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.